these topics. Pop-up healthcare clinics, maximizing student misery, the public banking movement, and Iceland's social benefits. We'll compare those against America's social benefits. However, I'm going to start talking about the news about state and local news first, and then have a political commentary, and then have some additional news, and we'll get into the economic justice stories. So, state and local news, Stockton's basic income experiment. It's been going on now for quite a while. What is it? It's basically kind of the same thing as the UBI, Universal Basic Income. Let me give you some background on that. Each Stockton recipient was given a debit card. About 125 Stockton recipients, Stocktonians, have been getting a debit card with $500, loads $500 every month on it. So the researchers of this project can see their spending, figure out what categories they're spending their money on. The median income of this money goes to individuals who have between $1,800 and about $27 in median income. The money does not come from taxes, it comes from a private fund. Okay. Now, if you add $500 to someone who's only earning $1,800 a month, that's a 30% raise, and they can really use that money on such a small salary anyway, right? So that's what we're trying to figure out. That's what the research is trying to figure out, how they're spending that money. By the way, just so you know, Stockton is rated 18th for child poverty out of all the United States. Okay? Now, as usual, there's going to be critics. Typical critics of the UBI program say that if you give people money, they won't look for work, or they'll spend the money on drugs, alcohol, and other things like that. Researchers of the program say they hope to learn what works and what doesn't work so they can design future UBI models. Okay, so that's a little bit about Stockton's basic income. When this program ends, we'll have the final results, and I'll report back on that. So let's talk about the next one is public banking bill is signed into law. Public banking bill is now signed into law, which means California, I think it's the second state that has the authority now to create its own public banks. The other one is Bank of North Dakota. I talked about that a couple shows ago, which has been a wonderful asset to North Dakota. Even though North Dakota is a red state, no one wants to get rid of it. I'm going to talk about that later in the program, about the banking bill. Okay, so next item. We're going to talk about ranked choice voting. Now you're going to hear about it in the news, so I decided to have a little commentary on it, because it's a way that your voice gets heard all throughout your choices, not just number one choice, number two, four, 1, 2, and 3 choices. So let's watch a video, and I'll come back and talk about that.
Pick your favorite color.
The ranked choice voting way.
Instead of voting for just one color, you get to rank your top 3.
Well, purple is the best, but if I can't have purple, I want blue. And if neither of those wins, I guess I can live with orange.
Now, let's count up everybody's votes.
Under ranked choice voting rules, it's not enough just to get the most votes. You need a majority.
More than 50% of the votes.
Let me just stop this and explain to you what's going on here. And each color is a candidate, right? And each packet of Post-it notes is one voter voting for the candidate. So we have we got 4 colors, so you have 4 candidates running. And under each, there's like a Post-it note. This is the first choice of every voter. Every Post-it note here is one voter. And they've selected their candidates in a stack. They have 2 more candidates underneath those, as first, second, and third place votes. Let's keep going.
Purple's ahead, but it has only 7 votes.
It needs at least 11 to win.
So we eliminate the color in last place.
Sorry, Orange fans, we're going to your second choice.
2 more for green.
1 for purple.
But no color has 11 votes yet.
Still no majority.
Bye-bye,
blue.
1 more for purple.
4 for green.
And we have a winner.
The ranked choice voting way.
Okay, so you kind of get it. It's not really intuitive, but you're going to see more and more of it in the future, even though Newsom, our governor, just vetoed a bill against additional ranked voting. You're going to see more in the future because your vote counts more and more the more choices you have below your first candidate. Again, each Post-it note has 2 more. It represents a vote represents a voter, and all the colors represent candidates that voter voted for. Okay, so again, I'll talk about more a bit about this in the future, but I wanted to show you this video just to get you to understand the concept. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about plastic pollution. Now, why am I going to talk about plastic pollution in an economic show? For the simple reason that this show is about anything that hurts your wallet, okay? Hits your wallet. Kitchen table economics, right? I talk about vote suppression. Well, how does that impact economics? Economic justice. Voting suppression is a part of social justice, right? Well, actually, it filters down to economic justice. Why? Because you vote for a candidate, and that candidate wants to bring you Medicare for all, and wants to strengthen labor unions, and wants to provide public pensions, whatever, right? Or strengthen Social Security. And if you can't vote for that candidate because of voter suppression, it's economic injustice, okay? Now I'm going to talk about plastic pollution. Why am I talking about plastic pollution? Because this is America. There's no universal health care. And plastic pollution has gotten so bad that we're eating, drinking, and breathing plastic, okay? And in this country, sooner or later, it's going to hurt our pocketbook, because you get sick in America without health insurance, you're in deep trouble financially, okay? Let's watch a clip. I'll show you how bad it is. Come back and talk about it. Okay, it's pretty bad, folks. Eating, breathing, and drinking plastic. And you know what? Our bodies are not made to digest plastic because it's an oil based on the petrochemical, right? Based on petrochemicals. And it's going to hit us. I don't know how long it takes. No one has done enough studies to figure out. But at my household, we're trying to get rid of all plastics. Completely. Especially because I have a 10-year-old son. So something you may want to think about as well. So I'm going to be talking a little more about plastic pollution on every segment so we can help stay healthier, and especially in America. You don't want to get sick. Okay, let's start with the first of three economic justice stories in the news. First one, pop-up health clinics for poor Americans, called RAM, Remote Area Medical. Now, the story comes to you from abcnews.com, dated April 6, 2013. Even though it's a little bit old, they're still around, still working, helping to give health care to people who can't afford it. A little bit of background. 33 million Americans have no health insurance at all, even with Obamacare, folks, right? Remote Area Medical was founded by Stan Brock. He was originally on the Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom back in the 60s. Now he created this nonprofit originally to help serve indigenous people in the Amazon rainforest for disaster relief missions, and also for African countries or South Asian countries where people are dirt poor and really need health care, okay? So let's watch a little clip of this and get familiarized with RAM.
I was raised on a farm and taught to take care of yourself. To allow somebody else to step in, that goes against what I was taught.
I do the best I can.
Your children are sick, you have to decide whether to buy bread or take them to the doctor.
Welcome to America. We've cut back in places like Africa simply because we're overwhelmed with the need here.
All these people have been here since Wednesday night. I worked at McDonald's for 9 hours. I've had 2 hours sleep since Thursday night.
We're all looking in life for what's real. These patients are real. Their needs are real.
I haven't been able to kiss my wife in over a year. That's pretty hard, man.
It's just too expensive to go to a dentist.
I need a mammogram. Make sure things are going okay.
Okay, who's got number one?
How long has it been since you had the doctor's visit?
Since I was a teenager.
Teenager?
I've got black lung real bad.
People volunteering their...
So, as you can see, these folks are in, you can tell from their accents, they're from the South, and they're in really bad shape. That's the only way they can afford medical care, is if you provide it to them for free through RAM, which is a pop-up clinic, like I said, designed for third world countries in Africa, Southeast Asia, and the Amazon, really, really poor people. However, Stan Brock, the CEO of RAM, he found out that most of the desperate needs are from people here in the United States, because they have no health care. They can't afford it. You just heard it. Okay? And RAM is funded entirely by private donations and is totally dependent on thousands of medical volunteers who perform dentistry and vision care and all the support personnel that goes with them. Right? Now, besides dental and vision, they also do surgery if it can be done quickly, because they have thousands of people waiting in line for days just for one of these events. RAM has held more than 800 general health clinic events across 12 states, specifically throughout the bottom half of the United States, which are Republican states. RAM is also in Virginia. Virginia is one of the 19 states refusing to expand Medicaid. Okay, so let's drill down. I mean, look, let me just give you two personal stories of people who went to a RAM event. Again, the RAM event is a free event staffed by hundreds of doctors and clinicians and dentists to take care of problems in the community. Okay, first story. Johnny Peters, again, this comes from ABC News article. I'm paraphrasing from that article. Johnny Peters has had all of his top teeth removed, but because RAM could not offer prescriptions for painkillers, he had to resort to street drugs to ease his discomfort. Second story. June Crosby had no nerves in her teeth and they shattered easily, a condition she inherited from her mother. She had hoped to have all of her teeth pulled and receive dentures, but because of the demand for care that day, she could only have 5 teeth with festering abscesses removed. Two examples of people who go to those events. What are they like? You know, folks, isn't this disgraceful? This is a charity that was set up to help people in very, very poor countries, third world countries, fourth world countries, not first world countries like America. Okay? But this is the kind of country you get when you believe in and vote for an everything for profit, nothing is sacred ideology. If you believe in everything for profit, nothing is sacred, including your health, then this is the kind of country you have, where you have to have charity, healthcare as charity in America. Folks, let's just get rid of these. Let these people go back to what they originally needed to do. Go back and help the poor people in Africa, Southeast Asia, the Amazon, okay? Let's do it by having Medicare for all. Okay? Okay. Those are the first of 3 economic stories in the news. Second news story is maximizing student misery means maximizing profits. So this story comes to you from JAT Productions, dated December 12th, 2012. Also from the Denver Post. I'll be paraphrasing from Denver Post. That article dated 6/8/08. So, student loan stories. You know, I'm going to keep having these because it's such a prevalent problem. We gotta solve it. We gotta solve it. Let's watch a video about student loans, and we'll come back and talk about it.
Is student loan debt America's new financial crisis?
I think the student debt crisis is here with no end or change in sight and absolutely zero plan to tackle this at the federal level.
Teenagers with no credit history and no guaranteed job routinely borrow tens of thousands of dollars, loans guaranteed by the U.S. Department of Education.
The federal government will always get their money.
However they have to.
We don't give student loan borrowers a second chance in bankruptcy. We let their wages be garnished. We even let their Social Security benefits be seized.
Taylor Smith still owes $49,000. College can be life-changing. Are these loans also life-changing?
They absolutely are. The moment you get an acceptance letter from a college, that's really the moment that you start taking on this debt.
Thousands of millennials now walk around with six-figure student debt. In one survey, 60% of younger borrowers said they'd be in their 40s before their student loans are paid off.
Okay, pretty disgusting, isn't it? Let me give you some background. American students now owe $1.5 trillion with a T in student loans, okay? Why? Private colleges and public colleges are profiting off of the innocence of our young people, okay? The college debt, ruining their lives. They're starting off with tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars if they're in the medical or dental field. And we have to go back to the free college system we had that worked great in the previous century, okay? A personal story. Again, paraphrasing from a Denver Post dated 6/8/08. Our grandson attended a national automotive school for 1 year in 2007 at a cost of about $40,000. Today he earns $13.50 an hour with no benefits as an auto mechanic for a private company. He was led to believe by his parents and by the school that he could make 3 times that amount after graduation. Now 5 years later with 2 children, he has to work 55 to 60 hours a week plus side jobs to survive and pay his student loans, along with his other bills. And still most months he has to borrow money for rent and gas. And when filing bankruptcy, not available to student loan debt borrowers, okay? You know, why does this happen? You know, let's forget about the fact that the student's getting into debt to go to school. Just remember this, when you have an interview for a job, okay, any job, the companies only care about primarily 3 things, right? How you present yourself, if you can communicate well, and how your skills meet the requirements of the job. And that's pretty much it, okay? The last part, how your skills meet the requirements of the job. How you develop those skills. Is it only through college? No. There's so much free or low-cost methods now, okay, that you can go online, you can learn YouTube, right? A family, a couple of years ago, a family of 4, right? But no husband, I think a 16-year-old, another 12-year-old son and 2 daughters and the mother. They built a house just by watching YouTube videos, okay? And you don't even have to. If you don't want to learn, you know, go to college and be a white-collar worker, you can be a blue-collar worker. There's nothing wrong with that. I was a wastewater operator for 16 years, okay? I think part of the problem is that no one wants to do that kind of work. Nothing wrong with that. You know, and the best part about blue-collar jobs is that you make money from the start, okay? It cost me about $150, I think, for a course, and to buy a book, and to pay for my wastewater exam. Once I passed that exam, I was an OIT, operator in training. I had that OIT certificate, and I was job ready, okay? And so I was hired, okay? I had to pay for student loans back in the 70s when I first started. But you know what? This is what I recommend. We live in Santa Clara County, and we have the best community college on all of California, right here. San Joaquin Delta College, okay? Best in California, 4th best in the United States, okay? This is what I recommend. Just my recommendation, okay? Go to 2 years of community service of community college. It's free now for 2 years, I believe, right? You get that associate degree in business for free, right? Who do we have? What city do we have down below? We got a huge Silicon Valley with huge salaries, right? Fine. Take get a job down there, any kind of job. Work for high-tech companies, right? Take the ACE rail down there, take it back at night, and do this. Start at any level, okay? But find a company that has a tuition reimbursement program, okay? And then get a degree on their dime. That's what I did. Okay, that's exactly what I did. I worked for Watkins Johnson, and they're a very generous company. And I paid, I don't know what, $30,000, and they reimbursed me for all of it. Okay, so you don't really have to. Find a cheaper way. Find a cheaper way to get the education you need, get the skills you need to get a job. In my household, I tell my son, if you have a need for anything, always start at the bottom. Start at the bottom. There's a protocol. If we need something, First thing to do, get it for free. See if you can get it for free. If you can't do it, find something that you can get it for cheaper. If you have to pay full price, so be it. Only if you need it. But in this case, you don't need college. But that's my personal opinion. The things you can learn on YouTube. In my case, I signed up for LinkedIn Learning, which is $300 a year. I'm not advocating for it, but it's an option out there. You can learn coding, writing, designing social media, and those are the specific skills that you can get a job in. Okay? And don't forget, Bill Gates and Steve Jobs were college dropouts. Okay? So, that was the second of 3 economic stories in the news. Next item. Public banking movement. Okay, as I told you in the news, we have public banking now allowed in California. Bill 857 was passed. Now it's the law. So, what is a public bank and how does it work? Let's watch a clip by Mr. Dr. Wolf and come back and talk about it.
A public bank holds the private banks to a standard. The private banks now have to do as well as that public bank, or nearly so. Otherwise, their condition of existence is removed. Why have private banks if they cannot or will not do for the public what the public bank does? It's a good way to hold them to account. It's a good way to measure how well they're doing, number one. Number two, public banks don't have to make a profit. If they do, whatever their profit is goes back into the state government's income because it's part of the state. And that means the state government doesn't have to raise taxes as much as it otherwise would. That's made the Bank of North Dakota quite popular. And if it doesn't make profits, it's because it can offer loans on the basis of lower costs than a private bank would charge.
Okay. So it's a little bit about public banks. Let me give you some backup information. There is a movement to have a public banking system here serving the public. Okay, public banks are why? Because public banks are accountable to the public. Public bank depositors decide these things. They decide what services the bank provides. They decide where their tax dollars are invested, what kinds of investments are off limits for that bank. Okay, and the public bank, like Dr. Wolf said, they don't have to make a profit. If it does, the profit can be directed by the depositors for public use to fill local needs, building roads and bridges or whatever, or as it happened, I believe, in North Dakota, they use the money to reduce taxes. What a concept, huh? Personal story. This comes again from truthout.org, July 5th, 2019. From that article, I'll quote now Curtis Wu, an organizer with the San Francisco Public Bank Coalition, told Truth Out, "We have 7,000 unhoused residents on the streets of San Francisco. Rent is now approaching $4,000 a month for a one-bedroom apartment. Our public buildings are falling apart. Our trains and buses are getting old and need to be replaced. We need a public bank to provide the money to fix all these important social needs at very low cost." Okay? Like you just heard the professor. Public banks are held accountable to local depositors. Okay, so who can you hold to be accounted at a bank? Wells Fargo? Can you get rid of the president? No, you can't. I don't know how to do it. It's just not possible to do it. Depositors' money in public banks stays in the local community to take care of needs in that community. It's like building new public housing and paying for buses and trolley cars in San Francisco. That's what a public bank does. It serves the needs of the local community, whatever they are. Okay? And one more thing. Wells Fargo presidents, right, or the top officers, they don't make millions of dollars. They make a couple $100,000. They live a good life, but it's not millions of dollars. Okay? Why? Because the public is watching out for that. Okay? Okay. So, let's move on to next item, How Great Are We segment. In this segment, I talk about how great is America compared to other countries, other developed countries, folks, okay? So, and now Iceland is up next. Iceland was the 4th happiest country in 2019, according to the World Happiness Report, which is part of the UN, which I covered a couple shows ago. You want to know who the top 10 happiest countries are with the happiest people? I'll read the list again. From most happy to least happy, top 10. Finland, Denmark, Norway, Iceland, Netherlands, Switzerland, Sweden, New Zealand, Canada, and Austria. Okay? So, where are we? Okay, where is America? We're not on the list. You want to know where we are? We're not on the top 10 list anyway. You know where we are? We're number 19 on the World Happiness Report. 2016, we were number 13. Now we're number 19, and we're going down. So, but let me go back to Iceland. These are the benefits that they have in their country. And I'm going to be paraphrasing from the Atlantic.com, dated July 2017, also from Global News, 7/18. Okay, what do they have? What do Iceland citizens have? First of all, they're automatically enrolled in Iceland's universal healthcare system. Their unemployment benefits last up to 2.5 years. You got that right, folks. 2.5 years, not 6 months like we have here. 2.5 years at the most. They have old age pension starting at 67 years old, publicly financed. Each parent is entitled to payments from the maternity and the paternity leave fund for 3 months following the birth of a child or the adoption of a child. With an additional 3 months that parents can decide how to use between themselves. And folks, this is the longest parental leave benefit and entitlement for fathers in the world. Okay. Nursing care. Nursing care in the patient's home is done free of charge if requested by a physician. Children under the age of 18 are entitled to a child pension if one of the parents is deceased, and they're entitled to 2 pensions if both parents are deceased. Okay? Taxes are approximately 37%, but pay for health care, pensions, and college, so citizens don't have to stress out about those things. Okay? The one way I like to compare this is that think of a subscription service. I mentioned this before. You prepay, you pay for a magazine or whatever, right? You prepay it. And you save probably, 90% of the street price of a magazine or whatever. Let's use magazines in this case, right? You prepay it. So it's kind of like a tax, right? Instead of going and paying twice or 3 times the price on the street vendor, okay? But it pays for so much in your life you don't have to worry about. You got enough to worry about in your life. You don't have to worry about child care costs, health care costs, nursing care costs, how you're going to provide for your old age. All those problems are gone. You pay a little more in taxes and you're taken care of, okay? Now, what I'm going to say next is going to sound kind of strange. But I really believe that corporate America uses the happiness index at the UN as an index to gauge if they are maximizing their profits. Okay? Stay with me. Because if American citizens are happy, that means part of their happiness has to do with affordability of life, right? Not just their relationships and nature, everything where they live. That's part of happiness. But being able to afford life is a big part of that happiness, right? If American citizens are happy, that might mean that corporate America is not fleecing them enough. And that scenario would be intolerable to them. Okay? So don't expect any improvement in America's happiness score for number 19. In fact, I'll bet it'll be 20 in 2020. Okay? By the way, one way Iceland's government gets the income to pay for all these great social benefits is its 85% tax on alcohol. And Canada has a similar high tax. A big deal. If you're a drinker, there are ways around it, right? Okay, so sorry about that, folks. I fell out of my hand. Okay, what are the key takeaways from today's story? Well, number 1, is America so poor that it needs constant medical charity? Okay. We need tax-funded colleges to give our students a break and not start them off with a life of debt when they're already only 20, 24 years old or whatever. We need public banks so they're accountable to the depositors. So bank profits, if they're needed, are used to serve the community needs and not go into someone's pockets or fund items that we don't really care to do, like fracking or oil pipelines, right? Iceland has proven that paying for life's essentials pre-tax is always cheaper than paying for them post-tax. Remember, prescription versus paying at a street price. Okay? If everyone has a little, then no one pays a lot, and that's the whole point of my concept, of everyone pays through the tax system. Well, that's the show for today, folks. Thanks for listening. This is Vic Bernsdorf at 89.5 FM KBCC Community Radio in Tracy. Now, always remember, under democratic socialism, the people who produce the profits and the people who receive the profits are the same people. Have a great day.